Let me see here. Just waiting for the. Okay, let's see. I'm just waiting here for them to come on. Okay. Okay, hopefully it works. Oh my goodness. Hi, Uncle Daniel. Hey, can you see me? Can you let me? Can you know if you can see me? Can you see me now? Oh my God!
I don't.
I mean, we
But I mean, if we
you
can
can
hear
hear
you, I don't
me.
know if anybody else on the live can see both of us. I don't know.
Yeah, y'all, can y'all let us know if y'all can see both of us? If y'all can see me and if you can see the Burrells, or if you can see the Burrells and you just let me know if y'all can see all three of us.
I'm gonna check my Instagram and see.
Okay, y'all can see all three of us.
Okay.
Okay. That is so interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's weird. You sure that we shouldn't touch my camera and see if we can do it? No, I think that's just us. Yeah, that's just
Okay.
us. Well, we can hear you. That's good enough.
Okay, that's okay. Well, thank y'all so much for joining me. So, how it's gonna work, Aaliyah? I have 6 questions for you, and Mama Burrell, I have 6 questions for you. But before we dive into the mother-daughter pageant interview, I just want y'all to introduce yourselves to the audience and just kind of let us know a little bit about your connection to pageantry.
Okay, so my name's Katina Burrell, and I actually have two daughters who do pageants, Taylor and Aaliyah. We had a little bit of a family friend emergency, so Taylor had to deal with that. But pageants actually started for me when I was, I believe, 14, when I did my very first pageant, and I did a teen pageant, and I actually wore a old bridesmaid's dress that my mom had and just went in completely blinded, didn't know what to expect. And I had a very good friend who was absolutely beautiful, and they called her as like second runner up or something like that. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this was fun. And they called me as the winner, and I literally just kind of stood there, as did everybody in my family, and they literally had to say, Katina? So that's kind of how it started, and I did pageants from then on, and found my way to the Miss America organization and competed in several locals. And so when I had daughters, I never really had any intention of putting them in pageants. It wasn't, the thing that I thought I would do. And Aaliyah actually came to me at the time, the dance studio that she danced at. The director of the dance studio was actually the director of the teen program for Miss Virginia. And so Aaliyah came to me and said she wanted to compete, and she went her first year, and I guess the rest is history. I'll let her go from there.
Yeah, I'm Aaliyah. I'm Katina's oldest daughter. Yeah, that's kind of, my friends and I were like, oh, we're going to do this pageant because Miss Linda's the director. And we tried it, and I was hooked, and I couldn't stop. And then I actually found out later on that Mama competed. And then after that, I was like, oh, well, if you did it, surely I want to do it. And it just kind of kept going from then on, and we've just been at it since.
That's lovely. I love that story. I love that y'all didn't know that your mom competed until like y'all started competing. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Well, we knew she modeled. Like, she was a very big, like, You were successful. She was a successful
I
model.
was locally successful.
She was successful. And she actually, the modeling agency that she got her start in, I taught there for a little bit, as did she. So I knew she modeled. I just didn't know she did pageants until after the fact.
Yeah, that's great. So y'all are known, the infamous, beautiful Burrell family, and y'all have made y'all's mark in MAO, in the Miss America organization. If I remember correctly, y'all are from Virginia, but y'all, of course, are Georgia Peaches now. So can you kind of tell us, out of, especially now, I think there's so many options in pageantry, and it's changing so quickly and so fast over the past couple of years. But I know y'all to, be loyal to MAO, and y'all have had like immense success in MAO. So can y'all kind of take us through the journey of how y'all found the system and kind of what success y'all have had in MAO and what that has done for y'all?
Yeah, so I mean, the start for MAO, the reason MAO just kind of made sense is, one, because my sister and I grew up doing competitive dance. And so we just wanted a reason or a way to dance more. I know for me that was a big draw, was just the ability to, I loved tapping. My cousin at the time was a tapper when I first started, and she was like, I can do you dance. And I was like, okay. And so she did, and that was just like a way for us to connect and build my talent. And then just in general, it was just a big draw for me to be able to do my talent. And then over the years, I just think it just grew to something beyond just a pageant for us. My mom directed for several years on the local level, and it just truly became like a part of our life. And my sister and I both have tried different organizations, and it just, something about MAO just feels like home. I think that has a lot to do too with the people, and a lot less to do with the organization as a whole, but just the people who have been in our lives and who we've learned to love and who have become family through the journey over the last, almost 17 years.
Yeah, I think for definitely starting out in Virginia, like I said, I kind of started in the MAO system, and then once they got involved, we really did become a part of the Virginia family. So it was like that was, you always just kind of like the family reunion, every summer you always went back to that. And I think that was part of the reason why we stuck with it. Also because I knew how I grew in it, especially with interview skills and things of that nature moving forward. And the same thing just kind of happened when we came to Georgia. After the first couple of years, it also became a family. And so it's almost kind of like, I know I always laugh because I think sometimes like every year we post and people are probably like, oh my God, there they go again. But it really is. I mean, it's not just about, it's more than just the competition of it. It really does become more of the journey and the family and the people that you meet. So
Yeah, and I love that, and I love that for y'all, because I think just everyone in Georgia knows y'all and loves y'all's family, and is always rooting for y'all. So every time I see y'all, I'm like, they're the Burrells. So that's always nice for me, especially now that I've kind of aged out and in a different seasons of life, being able to see people that are still there, still loyal, still, growing and improving, and just, sharing their passion through MAO. So I love that for y'all. So now we're gonna move on to some questions. Did y'all have a preference of who wants to go first? Aaliyah, do you want to go? Mama Burrell, you want to go?
I'll go.
Okay. So we'll start with our daughter question. So Aaliyah, in what way or ways has pageantry strengthened your relationship with your mom? I think, especially being that MAO has a miss and a teen division, I think your teenage years are just those years where you're butting heads with your mom, and you think you know everything and you think you're grown. And that's usually a time where daughters and mothers are like not seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
But being that is such a pivotal part in MAO, just kind of that teen and that miss program, at a time usually where you're butting heads with your mom. If you're competing in pageantry and you have to lean on your mom a lot, it could be the total opposite for a typical teenage mother-daughter relationship. So I would love to know how competing in pageantry has strengthened that relationship with your mom.
Yeah. well, I mean, I feel like my mom and I and my sister, I wish she was here, but like we're lucky because we do have such a close relationship. Outside of pageantry, just in normal life, we're very close. Now, don't get me wrong, there have definitely been times where I thought I knew way more than she did. And most of those times it's proven that she was right and I should have listened in the first place, especially in those teen years. But one thing I value specifically with the relationship and how we were able to build on that relationship is one, you just spend a lot of time together, whether that's through competition weekend, or one of the things that I love about MAO is this focus on volunteerism and activism and philanthropy. And those were all things that we were able to do, as a unit together. And so it definitely brought us closer together only because we were spending so much time together. But also, too, I think one of the things that I value is this ever constant, like this beautiful reminder of what it means to be a strong woman and what things that I should look for. And I always, like, as far as how I'm being a role model to those around me and the things that I'm working towards, I always look at my mom as that, like, first role model in my life. And so I definitely think there have, of course, been moments, because I think we're human and every teenager, you're right, like they have those moments. But the majority of the time, it's been a very good thing for our relationship. Also, too, I trust her more than I trust anyone. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that my mom would never tell me to do something, sing something, wear something that wasn't in my best interest. And so I trust that, like, true guidance. And also, too, she does not shy away from the truth. So if I did wear something or do something or sing something I shouldn't have, she made it very clear that I shouldn't have. So
Yes, mamas are the most loving, but the most honest critics. Yes. So my next question is, can you share with us your favorite pageant memory with your mom?
Oh, goodness.
So many, right?
There are so many. I mean, I think for my family in general, 2 years ago when my sister and I both made the top five was a good moment. But for me, it was before the top five. My sister and I both really do work really hard to be the very best versions of ourselves that we can be. And one of the ways that we really did specifically that year really work towards being our best at Miss Georgia was just really honing in on our talent. And so when both of us won the talent preliminary, me that second night, I was like, I mean, like, we did it. Like, we worked hard, and coming out of those River Center doors and my mom being there, I just remember breaking down because I was like, Mom, like, I can't believe this. Like, all of this time and, like, this is happening. So I definitely think for me, that's one of the memories that definitely sticks out, is just how genuinely excited we were to see our hard work pay off that year.
Yes, and I can tell you, just like from an audience perspective and just from following Miss Georgia that year on social media, you could tell that y'all had really worked hard, that y'all had the support behind you, and it was just a beautiful moment just for you and Taylor, and just being sisters on top of that, and being able to share that moment, that once in a lifetime moment, with someone that is going to always be in your life. It was very beautiful to watch.
Yeah, I tell, like, that's one of the moments we'll undoubtedly talk to our kids about, and they'll probably, when they're teenagers, like, okay, Mom, Auntie, we get it, shut up, you did it, like, move on. And like that'll definitely be one of those moments for us.
Yeah, it was great. I think it was definitely one of those, like, memorable Miss Georgia America moments. Like, that was so great for y'all.
Yeah.
So the next question it's kind of a two-part question.
Okay.
What is your favorite thing about your mom in everyday life? And what is your favorite thing about your mom in pageant life?
Okay. Well, the everyday life is easy. My mom is my best friend. She is the absolute strongest, most intelligent, most courageous, kind woman I have ever met in my entire life. And I genuinely think that the world is a better place because she's in it. I think my mom hung the moon. I think she walks on water. And I don't know if every daughter feels that way about her mom, but I mean, in any situation, in every life, I would choose my mom to be my mom. So I think there's not one thing that I love most about her, because she just is. I mean, we literally are best friends. We do everything together. We started a business together. So like, we genuinely do love being around each other. She was my first friend and she's my best friend. In pageantry, I really do. I don't know that every daughter gets this from their mom, and that's like unfiltered, complete honesty. And I value that so much. And even like with ages changing, the past couple of times for Miss Georgia or Miss America, it was like going her and say like, Mom, do I need to give it a rest? Like, do I need to be done? Be honest with me. I am a firm believer that everyone has a season, and at some point you need to like move on, and that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But she like there last year she was like, yeah, go for it. And this year she was like, I don't know. Are you going to be serious? Are you going to be committed? Like, is this really what you want to do? And if you are, go for it. And if you're not, sit down, And it's like, you need that. And one thing I know my mom will never do is set me up for failure. She will always put me on the path to be the absolute best version of myself. And so I value that so much, that she's always so open and honest with us, but also still loving. I've never doubted in any piece of advice that she's given me that she wholeheartedly loves me for me.
Yeah, that's great. And I know our moms are similar in that honest factor. I'm not, and that's the thing. I'm not sure if every daughter or every pageant girl does get that, because I think now that I'm a mom myself, I can see how it would be difficult to balance just being honest with your daughter, but doing it in a constructive and loving way. And then I think what's great about y'all's relationship is that your mom has that perspective of being a pageant mom, being a director, and a former contestant herself. Everyone doesn't have that. So a lot of moms may be, giving advice or encouragement based off of, an experience that they haven't had. And it's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just, your mom having a background in pageantry definitely is a blessing and puts y'all at an advantage, because she's literally seen it from, every fold, every point of an organization. So
yeah,
I
it
think that's
definitely
great.
helps. And also too, like, we'll have people who will come up to her and say, hey, what are your thoughts? What are your opinions? And I'm like, that's my mom.
Right.
And
Go
I
get
know
you a
she's going to
coach.
be honest with them too, so I'm like, good to go.
Right. Yes. So next question.
Okay.
How would your pageant career be different without your mama?
Oh gosh. Well, I definitely would not have been as successful as I've been. And I don't count success as like titles or wins or anything, but just in general, the impact that I set out to make, after I realized that this organization was more for me than just a title, I feel like I've definitely made. I don't think I would have been able to accomplish those things without her. But also too, I don't know that I'd still be doing this if I didn't have her and my sister. I think for us specifically, that's kind of the unique pull for us a lot of times, is this ability. I mean, like, literally my mom, my sister, my nana, and I, like, that's our thing. Like,
Yeah, that is y'all. That is
yeah,
y'all. It's truly a family affair for y'all.
yeah, I probably would not still be doing this if it weren't for her. And even, like, even past being a contestant, like, we know wholeheartedly one day we will have a local, like, that's the goal, because for us, this organization is a part of who we are. It's not just, me or Taylor, us competing. And so volunteering again is definitely something that we look forward to when, the next season. So no, I would not still be Miss anything if it weren't for my mom, because I would be doing something completely different.
And I think that's like it's very easy to go down like this rabbit hole of like, what would this experience be like for me if this person wasn't here? And I think also another layer of it is, how would it be different if this person wasn't here in the capacity that they are? because you have some moms that may be super involved, some moms who are like less involved. So I think it's also something to think about of the capacity and the scale that someone is involved and supportive of like your advocacy and your passion and kind of you going through this pageant journey. So I think there are many ways to look at it.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Yeah. And the next question that I have is, if your mom were to compete in this season of life, what pageant do you think would be a great one for her?
Oh gosh. I love you, but not something with talent.
No. Well, I mean, you could swing, you could do it. I don't. I feel like you would really thrive in like high school America. I don't know why. I just think you're beautiful and you model well, and interview is still a big part, but not like huge. But you would thrive. I don't know. I would definitely say like high school America would be your jam. I mean, but MAO would be your jam. I mean, talent's 20% now. So okay, but you're trying to make it sound like I'm like not talented.
No, she's talented. Don't get me wrong. She can sing. I just know it's not something she would want to go on stage and do. If you were comfortable with talent, I would say go ahead, do MAO, because like at this point,
you got it. I get you.
You can do whatever you want to do for talent, and it's talent. So go for it. Oh, yeah, definitely. She just
and part of talent is selling it.
No,
so.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you excel at everything you do, so you'd probably sell it, but you'd probably be mortified the entire time. I'd like to see it though. I'm not gonna lie. I would love for her to do a Mrs. Pageant. I've told her that before. Like I'd love to just see you in that element.
Honestly, like I think so too.
She wouldn't. She wouldn't.
I've been there, done.
I think that would be great. Just because like Taylor and Aaliyah are so talented and we know where that comes from, and I think it's just a matter of like wanting to see it live and in person.
We tried many years ago when we were in Virginia still. The international, was it?
Mm-hmm.
The international system, and they were doing a Mrs. Pageant, and it was in Williamsburg, and we were like, Mom, just do it one time, you'll love it. And she's like, no. Okay. So we've tried. It's not gonna happen.
I'm a motivator.
Do you I'm pretty sure it's just like, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're busy, you're supporting the girls as they are like at the height of their MAO careers and they've accomplished so much, but like outside of that, what would your reservations be?
I think it's just not something I'm interested in anymore. I think for me it's more being on I've kind of been on both sides now. I've been the competitor, and then I've had the opportunity as a director, and then of course as a mom to be that person who offers all the advice and offers the support. And I'm just at a point in my life now where that's more appealing to me than to be the one on stage.
Yeah.
So
and you're satisfied with the experiences that you've had on stage.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I get that. And my last question for you, Aaliyah, before we move on to your mom,
okay,
is, this might be a hard one. What is your mom's absolutely best trait in your eyes?
I would say her ability to always see the best in people. I think that is something that severely lacks in society in general, is just to be able to look at them and see I think it's easy to look at someone and say, I see that you're a human and you're worthy of a certain extent of kindness and compassion and humility and humanity. But my mom has this like incredible way of meeting people exactly where they are and making them believe that they are capable of being the very best of who they are. And even if when she meets them, that's the best that they can give right then. She is the person to say, okay, that's okay. My aunt just popped up and said patience. She really is. She is the most patient person I've ever met. But I think that goes hand in hand with she sees the best in every single person. And I have seen her be knocked down. I have seen her be wronged in so many ways, and she still offers love and care and compassion to those people, even more so than in those moments when they've wronged her. So that's definitely a trait that I don't always have as honest. Um, I do to an extent. I'm more so like, when you let me down, I let you know you let me. I'm like, you let me down. And my mom is not like that at all. So
I'm going to be honest and tell you how I feel.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I just value that, and I mean the fact there are so many people in our lives who are around us because of her. So many of our friends growing up and even now who are like, I just love your mom. I know. And I just think that's because she just makes you, no matter where you are, who you are, she just makes you feel at home. And I just, that's why I still live in her basement, because I just don't want to leave her.
I get it, girl. Mamas are great. And I have like this, I have one memory specifically with y'all. I think it was the year you won Gwinnett County and we competed together, and we were like all backstage getting, I can't remember if it was the day of or if it was like dress rehearsal.
Okay.
But you and Taylor were there, and your mom and your nana were there, and I think I don't know where you and Taylor were. I think y'all were like practicing your talent again or something like that. Sounds like y'all. But I was backstage with your mom and your nana, and we were just like talking, and about life. And I love your nana because she's so charismatic. She's so youthful. She's so great. I hope she's doing well. And your mom and Nana were just so kind, just so nice. Just like I was like, I'm talking to like my aunt and my grandma here, and just so inclusive and kind to everyone. And I think that isn't something that is as common in pageantry. I think when and this resonates with me more so for the time that we were competing, because like earlier in those days when you, me, and Taylor were all competing together, it wasn't as many brown girls. And there was just always, for me, it was just like, okay, like there are more brown girls here. I want to be friends with them. I want to talk to them. I want to get to know them. And your mom and Nana just kind of validated that community for me, and just being so nice and not making me feel like, oh, well, she's competing against, our daughters and our granddaughters and XYZ. So they were just, y'all are just so nice and so loving and so kind. And that testament of your mom and Nana just making everyone feel loved and included is very true. And that's, a memory that I will always have of y'all. So
more people call my mama mama than I do. More people call my nana than I do. But yeah, I mean, and that really both of them. And I think they've always just been that example for me and Taylor specifically as women of color in any situation that we've been in. Because, I mean, you made a good point. My Nana is so very charismatic. And she's just, both of her and my mom have just always been this example of Black greatness, and it's like, I've never in my life felt like my race or my gender would hold me back from, I mean, I've definitely felt the burden of societal pressure of what it does for women of color in general, just because it's just unfortunate. But I've never gone in going, well, I can't do this because of this, or I won't be able to accomplish this. Like, no, that wasn't an option, because I had two incredible women who were breaking those glass ceilings and who were constantly pushing for better and were never taking no for an answer. And I think so many times, unfortunately, we get in this place where we start to define success and greatness as like these grand things that happen. And we forget the small, little mundane, everyday things that are just as incredible of a success. And I had those examples in my mom and my Nana. And to this day, I still do. Just grace under pressure and kindness and love for everyone who they meet. And it's just, I would not be the person I am without their example.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Okay, so Mama Burrell, we're going to move on to your questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, as a mom, did you have any reservations about your daughters competing in pageants?
Yeah. I don't necessarily so much reservation as I just didn't want to be that mom who pushed their girls into doing it. So I always knew that if it was something that they were going to want to do, then it would be something that they'd want to do on their own. Also, too, I'm the kind of person that you do it 100% or you don't do it at all. And so it had to be when they were ready and they were fully committed to doing it. So while there wasn't any reservation, I didn't want it to be my decision. I wanted it to be theirs.
Yeah. That's great. And I think I think about that a lot too as a new mom. Like Blair's only 2, but I'm just like, oh, I think, I had such a great experience with this. I would love for her to do it, but I have to again remind myself that, she's growing into her own little person and it has to be a choice that she makes, and I don't want to be like a pushy pageant mom.
Yes.
But
I think you can. I think there's all different levels of that because I did do Aaliyah when she was 3, did like a Cinderella pageant, and at that point it was just kind of like for cuteness and all of that type of thing. I think it's when they get to the point where they actually can make up their minds. When they make that decision, yes, this is something I want to do, or this is something that I don't want to do. And I think I just seen so much of kids who come into this and it's very clear that they're only doing it because their parents want them to do it, and you get the kids who are just, don't even know anything about anything on their pageant paperwork and all of that. So yeah, for that. Now, I will also too say that there have been times growing up in pageants that I have thought about whether or not I should kind of pull the rein on it. And only just because, like anything in life, you face obstacles and you face people who aren't always so nice. And so there are times as a mother, I wanted to protect them, but also knowing too that that's also just part of growing up too. Yeah.
Very good point. And next, what is your favorite thing about the pageant world and being a pageant mom?
So I think for me, it's watching how they have developed into who they are. And I really think, I know for me growing up, one of the things that I love the most about pageants is that I became this person that I could get in front of someone and I could talk about myself. Or I knew that I needed to know about the world around me because that was the type of things that was going to be asked of me in an interview. And as I then grew into an adult and started to interview for jobs, a job interview was never an issue for me. It was, I never thought twice about it. I never got, nervous about it because I knew I had every skill I needed to go in and sell myself to someone. And so I think for me, that's the thing that I've enjoyed watching, especially with Aaliyah and Taylor, because they've really cultivated who they are and what it is that they want to give to the world and what they want people to see. And, with the community service initiative, and we've always been a volunteering family. That's just something that we always did. We always gave back. We always went to things. I wanted them to be well-rounded in all things. I made sure, when they were younger, we went to the opera, whatever I could do to make sure that they got as much of the worldview as they could. And I truly believe that, especially specifically in the system that we've been in, that's another way that they've been able to do that, because there are all of the opportunities to volunteer, the opportunities to see so many other strong women who are, making their way and making their way in the world and knowing what it is that they want to be. So I think that's the thing for me, why I even now still encourage. It's like, if this is what you want to bring to the world and this is an avenue to do it, then take advantage of it. So
yeah, that's beautiful. And so we kind of answered, this is another 2-part question. We kind of already answered the first part. The question is, would you ever compete in a pageant, and would you compete with your daughters? And not against them, but in a mother-daughter.
So that's another thing that I maybe would consider. If there was a mother-daughter thing, I would possibly consider that.
I'm down.
Depending upon what I had to do. I can talk all day long. So
categories are.
I'm good. swimsuit days for me over. So that's not an option. So yeah, it kind of depends. But I enjoy doing anything with my daughters. And
Yes, yes.
I hope that Taylor can't be here today, but any opportunity I can have to spend time with them, and if that meant that was one more opportunity, I would take one for the team.
I'm gonna find.
Yeah, I think it's just about the bonding, right? And I think Blair and I did one when she was like 6 months, a mother-daughter pageant together, and it was so fun for me. Like I was like, and she couldn't do anything, but I was like, oh, I'm with my baby, and we're taking pictures, and we're gonna have these memories forever. And we have like our two little matching crowns.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
It's all about the memories.
Yes.
That's true.
All about the bonding.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question. What pageant, and it might be the same answer for Aaliyah, it may be different, but what pageant moment has made you the most proud of your daughters?
So I do think it was the same year, and maybe for different reasons. Not necessarily. I mean, they've always, and it's really funny because Aaliyah and Taylor have been doing pageant for years. Like they went from Miss Virginia to Miss Georgia in the MAO system, so they've been doing it for years. And I don't think either of them have ever won a talent prelim. Definitely not as a Miss. Taylor,
and I think I may have noticed that, and I was just like, wait a second, how has this not happened before at Georgia? I know definitely like at locals, but I'm like, wait a second, how did this not happen yet?
Never won a prelim at state. So that was one of the things that they really wanted. So watching that together and to see them have so much success together was wonderful. But I think the biggest thing for me about that year is that they both went in as themselves. It was no longer, this is what such and such said I should do. This is how such and such said I should look. Aaliyah was like, my hair is short. I'm going to rock my short hair. Taylor just walked in.
Hey!
How are you?
You good.
So they both went in that year saying, this is who we are. Regardless of what somebody thinks we should be or how we should look or what we should do, this is what we're going to do. And I was just so proud because that was the year, like it was like you did it. You arrived. Like you did exactly what you came to do because you were exactly who you were. And so that's what made me most proud about that year.
Yeah, I think that authenticity piece is so important because at the end of the day, pageantry is a business. It is a world of beauty, and you do have all of these outside opinions and sources or coaches or whoever telling you, hey, you'll be more successful quicker if you do this or if you conform to this or if you change this. So I think that authenticity piece is very important just in pageantry and in life in general. And I'm glad that y'all did that with such conviction.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. And my next question, what advice do you have for other pageant moms?
So I would say, first of all, make sure you're encouraging your kids to do this because it's what they want to do and it's not because it's a dream that you didn't live out. I think it's so important. We as parents, and you probably know now and you'll learn, as parents, you always want what's best for your children. And you have done things and made mistakes or wish you had done things differently. And you always want to say, hey, don't do this because I would do this. Or you may even think, I really wish I had done this. So now is the opportunity for my daughter to do that. Dance was that for me. I never danced. And so when I put my girls in dance, it was in the beginning, it was strictly because it was something I never did, but also too, it had to be something that they loved. And so it's the same thing with pageants. Please, just make sure, and also to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. If it's all about winning, then you're setting your child up for failure. That's just not the way.
Something else. Because the odds are automatically going to be against you just because there are other girls competing.
Right. has to be a purpose. There has to be a reason. And then lastly, I would just say, be honest. Like I tell my girls all the time, I love you unconditionally. And when I say something that, you know, I don't like or I think should do differently or whatever, I'm doing it strictly out of love. The people on the outside aren't doing it for that. They're doing it because they want a reason to criticize or give their opinion or whatever it is. And I think so many times I look at young ladies and I'm probably, this is where I'm getting really, really too, when Leah says I really say what I have to say. But I look at some girls and I wonder why didn't their parents give them better advice, you know? And sometimes it may be because they don't know. I'm also very aware of that, but I am probably brutally honest with my children sometimes to a point, but it really is in love because and it's not just in pageants, it's in anything that they do, because once again, I always want you to put your best foot forward. So I guess that's the advice that I would give is, you know, make sure they're doing it for the right reasons and support them. Understand too that that's the other thing too that people don't understand. A lot of times people on the outside see pageants as, oh, they're just here and they're walking and they're doing that and they're doing this. But they will, you know, look at a young man who's doing football and like, oh, he's put in this work and he's committed and he's, you know, he's that. And it's the same thing. I mean, it's commitment, it's training, it teaches you. And so that week, specifically when you get to a state level, it's hard. It's very hard. It's draining. You second guess yourself. You put yourself out in front of 5 or 7 people who don't know you and who already have an opinion regardless of what you present. So it's really draining. So I always tell parents, especially that week, you know, give your kids some grace. That's not the time to give the criticism. All that needed to come months before.
Yeah, we're here now. You either got it or you don't. Like, you just need to be encouraging at that point.
Yeah, you have to be their biggest cheerleader, and you've got to be that shoulder whenever they need it. So
yeah, very, very true. And just to extend a little bit on the point that you were speaking on of criticism and just comparing like pageantry to football and the same amount of effort and, you know, prep and dedication that goes into that behind the scenes. I think in addition to that, a lot of the biggest critics on the outside are people that are not really analyzing the amount of work and time and energy and money that goes into getting to a state level pageant, especially one that is set up like a Mayo, where it's not at large. You have to compete your way to state. And sometimes those biggest critics are the people that have never been on a stage in their life. And it's just like you have to respect the art. You have to respect the prep. You have to respect the production. You have to respect the advocacy and the passion that it takes to get to that point.
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
Totally
for sure.
agree. And my son, you know, has played football since he was 6, and we put the same amount of time and effort and money you know, into it. And it's funny because I'll hear people that say, oh, you did this and you got this. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, when my son went to middle school, like they handed me a bill for $800 just to play on the field, you know? Like, so it's the same thing. And would I do it over again? I definitely would, because it was his thing and it taught him that commitment. But you know, this did too. Same thing for their competitive dancers, the same thing. So you know, it's just as a parent, you know, you have to decide what's best for your children, and you have to be able to block out the naysayers, you know, growing with them, especially growing up as dancers and in pageants. Believe me, I've had my share of people saying, I can't believe you do this and I can't believe you do this. And my response was, and that's exactly why I get up every morning and go to work. So I don't have to answer with help.
Yes. And I think like everyone, as far as pageantry specifically, everyone competes for different reasons, right? Some people compete because they want that title and they want to expand, you know, their advocacy and their passions. For some girls, it may just start out as wanting to earn that scholarship money. For others, it's just, you know, I just want to get better at this one thing, and then it may grow into something else. And although our reasons may be different, I think you have to respect everyone's reasons for doing things in their own season and in their own time. And if it does blossom, allowing that time for it to blossom. But just not judging anyone's choices or their extracurriculars or how they choose to live out a purpose.
Yeah. When I was a director, that was the first thing I'd always ask whoever my girl is, what's your goal? You know, because some people just want that scholarship money. Some people just want to win a talent prelim, or they actually enjoy just going back every year. A lot of people don't even understand that. But like I said, it's kind of like a family reunion or a sorority or, something like that. And so that's the first thing I always ask is, what do you want to get out of it? Because then that's the direction we're going to go. And that's what I'm going to make sure you get out of it. It's what you want, and so, and that goes into a whole nother conversation about directors. But yeah, it's all about supporting the person and what it is that they want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that is a little lost. Like for me, I've always competed because I've been the person, I want to win. I want to expand what I'm doing. And I know that having this title would be an outlet for me. But I know girls are competing with girls, they just want to perfect their hair and makeup, and pageantry is an outlet for them to do that. And I think I think it's important when you're competing to have like the big goal, obviously, of winning, but like Aaliyah said, having a small goal as well, because the big goal, the odds are just automatically against you because there are other girls. So you need to have a few of the small things that you can focus on as well as you're working towards the big thing. For me, that small thing was learning how to put lashes on because your girl could not do it. So I was just like, every local, I'm going to get better at doing my lashes just, until I win. Yeah. So I think it's just, respecting everyone's journey. And as you stated before, meeting people where they are and not judging people in life for the choices and purposes that they choose to fulfill in addition to like in the pageant world.
Totally agree.
And our last question for you, Mama Burrell, is how has pageantry shaped you and how do you think it's shaped your daughters?
Kind of like I said before, for me, it was definitely, when I first entered pageants, I was modeling as a teenager, and I honestly just entered the pageant because a bunch of my friends were doing it. And so it was just kind of like, oh, just one more thing to do. And once I won that year, I really kind of understood what it meant, and the opportunities that came with it. And then as I got older, as I said, and they began at that point, it was the platform and just the different things that came about and how I started really understanding who I was. And then the people that I met. And then as I had children and they started doing it, it was also too about the growth that I saw in them, but also the opportunity to help others at that point. In the prime of my girls competing, I was a director. And so, my job was to help those other girls that at many times they were competing against. Right. But my thing was, this is all about, as I said before, getting the person to where they need to be. And so I was always going to offer that assistance. And that's kind of who I am. Like that's what I love to do. Like you said, talking to you, I don't see the other girls as competitors for Aaliyah and Taylor. I see that everybody's there, as you said, to do a purpose, but also I'm a firm believer that what's for you is for you.
Amen.
And so regardless, if I've seen girls that have been in the same, like I said, competing at the same time, where I will say, hey, you ever thought about doing this? Or maybe you should do this. Or I've had, like Leila said, girls come to me and ask, and I'm never going to not give that assistance because somebody gave it to me. And I would hope that if my girls went to someone, it would be the same situation. So I think that's the thing that, for me, I see the most out of is I do, as trivial as it may sound to some people on the outside, I see that family. I tell the story about the very first year that Aaliyah competed at Miss Virginia. And at that time, they had a preteen program. And she was dancing. And we needed a CD player, back in the day when it was a CD player. And we wanted to run her talent. And I met this lady, And I was just saying, I need a CD player. And she said, hey, here's my room key. Go to my room. We have a CD player. You can get it. And I thought, this lady doesn't know me, anybody. And I went and got it. And come to find out, her daughter and Aaliyah were competing. And we are the best of friends to this day. I mean, it started that friendship and that relationship. And that's how we've met so many people in so many situations. And it has really just become a family, our Virginia family. Miss Virginia is still family. So that's the thing for me. And then, like I said, I watched Aaliyah and Taylor grow into wonderful young women through this organization. I've seen them find their passion. I've seen them motivate people who they would have never met had it not been for this organization. I've seen them put in spaces that they never would have been in had it not been for this organization. And I see just how the impact that they have on others, and that to me, when you say, the Burrell family and it's amazing to me the number of people who come up to us and say things like that. We are just who we are, and there's nothing, anybody who knows us knows that we are who we are. There's nothing, put on about it. We are just a loving family that we love each other immensely and we love other people. And so the opportunity to give back, because we've been blessed. And I tell them all the time, we are truly, truly blessed. And if you don't take that and understand that you need to move it forward, then shame on you. Shame on you for not giving the opportunity to others that have been given to you. And I know we're running out of time, but I just want one specific thing that I hope it's okay that I bring this up. But, Aaliyah, for example, has been a motivator to a lot of young girls who look like her.
Yes.
And sometimes that's a hard thing to bring on because you look a certain way, it's not what society thinks. And so, even coming into this year, I told her, I said, it's one thing to be something for somebody, and I think that's a wonderful thing, but also to make sure that that's not too much for you. Know who you are and what God has placed you here for, but also make sure that you're prepared to move in that direction.
Yes.
And so I think that that's so important to be, like you said, I know when I was doing this, I was many times the only brown face there, and even when they first started competing, and I think that's one of the reasons we were so well known, because we were
I think when we all first started competing, it was the two of y'all, me. I think Sierra Jackson may have still been competing in Georgia at that time, and Shari and Seychelle and Jasmine.
And so you so you have to be that for those girls. I mean, what was, I think this last time was 11 girls at state, maybe even more. So it's there are many different ways to make an impact on this world, and all of them don't have to be, like Aaliyah said, something huge. It could be as small as a young girl who doesn't think she looks the part, and then she sees Aaliyah, or a young girl who's been told she's a little weird, and then she sees Taylor with her Grinch, So it's like, those are the things that are important, because there's always somebody out there like you who needs what maybe you had to fight a little harder to get.
Yes.
And why
leaving
not
the brick at the bridge.
Right. Yeah. So that's why we're here. I truly believe that, and as long as I'm alive, that's what I'm gonna keep preaching to them. So.
Yes. And again, I think it's a beautiful thing, and at times when you are different and you notice that you're the minority in some way, shape, form, or fashion, that can be a big burden. And I think, we've all had that. Like Aaliyah, you've experienced that. I've experienced that when I was competing in MAO with my natural hair. And I think just we have to make sure that we're okay with being that poster person for that. And I know we're getting low on time, but I know, again, going back to when Aaliyah won Gwinnett County, and I remember you just being so full after that, and you having that reservation of, you know, your appearance. And I just remember telling you, like, if you're okay with it, like, please keep going, because people need to see you. And at the time, people needed to see you in MAO. And again, I'm just so glad that y'all are still there, and that y'all still love it. Because there are a lot of people that, you know, don't last as long as y'all have. And I think that's just a beautiful thing, especially with it being a family affair for y'all. And if anything, I hope y'all know that I am always rooting for y'all, and I love y'all, and I love seeing y'all every year. And as long as y'all are there, and as long as y'all's heart, you know, is in it, I will be here supporting y'all.
We appreciate that, and we feel it, and we always have felt it. Yeah, it's crazy. We talked about this, but like how things have shifted from like when we were babies and we were the, young ones competing, and now we're the older ones, and it's like there's this whole new slew of girls that have come up, and
Yes, girl,
sometimes
I can't keep up. I started, I think I just like started following. I'm like, okay, I don't know who this girl is. I don't know who this girl. There's so many new girls. I'm just like, I feel old.
But even just the aspect in general of like, sometimes you want to look at them and go like, do you know who did this before you? Like with your
Girl,
natural hair, like
know
you're
your
not,
history.
you're like, it's almost like I'm proud of you, but girlfriend, you're not the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like there have been people who stood in this and did it when it wasn't popular. And now
Oh, girl.
there are so many things now that are the popular thing when back,
Mm-hmm.
I say
Back
back
in
when
back
we
in
were,
our day.
but but honestly, like, like some, like being the bigger girl, being the girl with natural hair, like being the girl with cut arms and a nice like physique with the super six pack, like that. Then look, you're too fit, you're too fat, your natural hair isn't going to work. Like those are things that we constantly heard, and you don't hear those things as much now. So I'm just like, I'm so glad y'all are here. Thank God our effort is paid off, and
Yes,
there's a place
it's
for
like
you.
the authenticity, you know, the conviction
Yeah.
wasn't in vain. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's, you know, these in general, I think you have to know your pageant history, but just for the sake of us being in Georgia, like, you know, it's important for the new girls to know the history, the lineage, like just what. And I think obviously that's just the importance of like our grassroots efforts and conversations like these, and having those girl talks. Because I mean, honey, just even Shari's Tina Turner talent, they should play that every year. It's just like, no, like
History.
it's just a matter of knowing your history, and knowing the women that came before you and have truly made a mark in the organization that you're participating in.
Yeah.
And that's why, even when it gets hard, and I'm, and I, we talk a lot about mental health, mental wellness. When it starts working on you mentally, yeah, it's time to go. But things are hard, and if you want to really make a difference and you want to be that change, and I even used the example with Aaliyah. I was like, this is kind of far reach, but Martin Luther King didn't ask to be who he was. That was something that was placed on him. And he didn't get a lot of recognition for it. He was getting threatening phone calls. And that's, like I said, that's a far example. But on the other hand, sometimes God puts us in places that we don't necessarily understand why. And sometimes that means we have to walk in it even when it's a little uncomfortable, because in the end, it's good for us, but also too, you just never know the impact you've had on somebody else. And when people will come to you years later and say, you didn't know this, but because you did, I felt like I could. And so I think in anything in life, and it's, like I said, well, even with pageants where people think it's just a superficial thing, it means a lot.
Yeah, it is definitely a soul searching activity where you're constantly having to think about what you stand for, who you stand with, what you believe, why you believe it, and expressing all of that with conviction, with, a balance of beauty and brains, and respect and perseverance and all of these other things. So I know we're running low on time. Aaliyah and Taylor, I wanted to ask y'all one more question because I want to get Tay in here. And my question for y'all is, what advice would you give to the next generation of pageant girls?
I would say probably the number one thing for me is being, well, first of all, learning who you are, taking the time to figure out who you are as a person, truly and genuinely, not what other people want you to be, not what you think you're supposed to be, really learning who you are. After you learn who you are, really sit in the knowledge that who you are, simply, period, the end, is more than enough. Whether that means getting the crown, whether that means you don't, who you are, as you are, you're more than enough. You can't sacrifice the person that God made you to be. You can't sacrifice your quirks because people have a problem with it. You have to be true to you. And that'll in turn, I think Kelsey said something about it at Miss Georgia Forum this past year, but it's something I've always told myself. If they don't choose me as I am, then they don't want me. And that's okay. I don't want to go into something and have to change who I am in order to be chosen. I want them to choose me. And if they don't, it's not my calling, it's not my purpose. And I have to be okay with that and understand that. At the same time, understanding that, it is a competition and we all want to win. Otherwise, we would find other avenues to do these things. That's what we want at the end of the day. We want to have that opportunity. However, also realizing that, kind of like they've hit on, we have such a special opportunity to make an impact on the lives of others. And that's something that will always be first and foremost in everything I do, but especially in this avenue because it changed the course of my life. I tell a story all the time about how I went from being the weird kid who didn't feel like she fit in anywhere to having Courtney Garrett tell me that I belonged here and that there was a space for me. And that's what it's all about. That changed the whole trajectory of my life. One person, one moment. She probably never would have realized that one moment in time would change so much for me and help form me into the person I am. So I look at it every day, every encounter, every experience in this realm as an opportunity to try and be a welcoming embrace for whoever might need it, to shine a light, to be a positive influence, to be an encouraging source of love. That's just what it's all about at the end of the day. No matter win, lose, or draw, don't lose sight of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's beautiful. And Aaliyah, just before you hop in, Taylor, what you're talking about just if they don't want, if you don't win, they don't want you. I don't know if y'all listen to Casey Musgraves. I love her. Her album, she has an album called Pageant Material. And the song on that album, that record, Pageant Material, there's a line in that song that I absolutely love. And she says, I'd rather lose for what I am than win for what I ain't. And it's great. I love it. So for all of our viewers, if y'all haven't listened to that song, then you should definitely give it a listen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have, that was great. I don't really have much to add. For me, the advice is it's basically the same. I think just having a very good understanding of what it is that you want in this season of life from this specific moment, this pageant, the next or whatever, but also to know what you want to do with it after. And that could be nothing. It could be, I just in this moment of my life want to compete in pageants, and that's fine. But also to just have an understanding that might come off and that might be the reason why you aren't as successful. Or I just wanted, like you said, just your eyelashes. That's not a bad thing. But just recognize that, there might be times when I was like, I just want to go do with my talent. When I was dancing when I was younger, I just wanted to do my talent. And that was enough for me. And then I didn't win. I go, well, why didn't I win? My mom was like, well, you just wanted to tap.
And it's just, again, just being well-rounded in all of those things and getting one wheel turning, and then you can hop on, to the next wheel, and just making yourself like a well-rounded contestant.
Well, and because ultimately, like Taylor said, at the end of the day, there are so many moving parts that go into this. It's still a competition. And with our brother who played football, he loves football. It's a part of who he is, and we never wanted him to lose that. But you still got to go on the field and try to win a game. And that means you have to practice. You need to weight train. You need to eat right so that you can build your muscles. Like, there are still things you have to do because you made a commitment to try to win a game for your team. And I think that's why I'm so adamant about, like, just know what you want, because if you want to win, then there are just some things you have to do. Even if you say, oh, it's not fair, it's not right, I shouldn't have to. For me with my weight, there were so many times that I was like, it's not fair that I have to. It's not fair. Okay, it may not be, but guess what? You made a choice to do this. And so put that aside and say, is it just not fair? Do I feel like I shouldn't have to do it? And then be okay with that choice when you make it. If you're going to commit to it, commit to it. And if you don't want to commit to it fully, that's fine too. Have fun. No one's saying you can't come, and it's fun too. Just know where your head is at and what your outcome, what you want the outcome to be, so that you can be at peace with what the outcome is.
I think the other thing too is making sure that you have something past this. I see so many young ladies that this is the end all be all.
Right. And when you're young, it's so easy to feel that way. Like this is where I am now. I need this now. I'm not thinking about what's happening after pageantry. I think it's so easy to fall into that hole, because this is the type of world, once you're in it, you're in it. And it's difficult to look past, what is happening after this, or what is my life going to look like when, I'm not actively competing anymore.
Right. Or when year after year you don't win. It has that, like I said, I always tell people, find your why, and you've got to have a why you're willing to endure it year after year. And you also have to know when to say, okay, I've succeeded at the why, and like you said, maybe it's time to move on. Or unless it's, like I said, it's just something you enjoy doing every year and you just want to keep coming back for the family reunion, then that's fine.
It's all good, and it's all valid. It's all different, and you just have to know what it is for you.
Yeah. And be okay with it.
Well, that is the end of our interview. Thank y'all so much for coming on and for sharing your story and for encouraging everyone that is going to see this. Y'all are truly a gem. Y'all have made y'all's mark in MAO. I am so lucky and happy to have competed with y'all and to have, known y'all's family. And with whatever y'all decide to do, I wish y'all much success and happiness. And I will be looking forward to that local in the coming years.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And also too, once again, just kind of from a mother's perspective, watching you with your daughter has been a beautiful thing to see. So
thank you so much. I love her so much.
Well, she's adorable. So
my little rugrat, I love her. It's truly just motherhood has been like everything that I've wanted it to be, and
good.
I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's that club that you don't get it till you're in it, and once you're in it, you don't want anything else. So.
Yes. It's definitely new and different and a learning curve. It obviously has its ups and downs like anything else, but it's truly a joy.
Well, cherish every moment because it goes by very fast.
Yes.
Very fast. So, but thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.